Hi friends! I am here with my BMW again, because this weekend I'm going to continue on my little welding project. As you guys have probably seen in my earlier videos, this car is pretty rusty, and my plan was actually to go and cut out all of this and then fabricate a new piece of sheet metal, but then my friend Leon found a pre-made part online. So my plan for this weekend is to weld that in place. Now, for those of you that haven't been following this entire video series, because it has taken me a lot of time already, I have been welding quite a bit on this car already. And in fact, this was the first car I've ever welded on. Because last time I welded in some new parts in the door sill, and I've also welded in some new parts in the front wheel arch. But my biggest concern has always been those big two holes in front of my driver's seat. So I think you can see why I'm so excited to finally weld in some new metal today. Now, I actually wanted to go and start grinding right away, but my car's messy, so let's clean it up a bit first. Look at that pretty front spoiler. I'm sure many of you guys are going to hate it, but I like it, so I'm going to put it on there once. But I am going to cut out this entire piece, and I'm going to try not to remove too much metal. And then hopefully that new piece of sheet metal is big enough to cover all of those holes. Just look at that. That's sick. And so I just started grinding into my floor pan, which I actually still find pretty scary to do. Luckily, this was quite easy since I simply had to remove almost everything. Now, of course, there's also this chassis support beam kind of thingy keeping this piece of metal in place. So I'm gonna go and try to remove this bitumen so I can find the spot welds that are under there, and then I can go and grind out some more. To remove the bitumen, I decided to just use a big screwdriver and a hammer to get rid of the thick upper layer, which wasn't very hard, but mostly pretty time consuming. I then used that same screwdriver to scratch down the surface a bit more to reveal the hidden spot welds. After locating all of these spot welds, I used a special spot weld drill bit to drill them all out. Again, not very hard, but mostly time consuming. Especially since there's a whole lot of spot welds keeping the floor pan in place. Hoi Leon.
Hi. Are you talking to me? Okay.
Okay, back to the E28. I'm using a hammer and chisel to separate the floor pan and the support beam. Cause even though I've just drilled out all of the spot welds, they're still pretty stuck. And then, of course, I repeated that same process on the other half of the support beam. As you may have expected, after removing the part of the floor pan that's connected to the support beam, there's still a lot of metal that needs to be cut out. So I got out the angle grinder again. Alright, I've cut out most of the rusty parts, so now I'm gonna go and clean up these rusty edges to see what else I need to weld in, because I don't think the floor pan will be big enough to cover that little rusty part. I don't know if you can even see it, wait. Yeah, because there's still some rust, so I think I'll have to weld in a bit here and a bit here, of course, and then we can go and get the new floor pan in place. What are you doing?
Cleaning some gooey stuff.
Ew, that's sticky.
That is sticky.
That's going into that car. That's never going to see the road either, just like my BMW.
Fuck you, it's gonna be on the road next year, bitch!
Never!
Next year!
Alright, onto that cleaning up of the metal I was just talking about. And I'm doing so using the power file. My goal is to clean all around the rusty parts I just showed you to uncover how big the spots actually are and how big the piece of new sheet metal is supposed to be that I'll be making in a sec. I also flattened out the spot welds I just drilled out, cause of course I'll be welding in a new floor pan on top of there later this weekend. Alright, I've cleaned up most of this, and now first thing I want to do is make this little piece of sheet metal and of course cut this out, and then we'll take care of that because that looks horrible and like a lot of work. And Leon's going to do that.
Take care of that.
No.
I've got brackets to make for
No, I'm going to get started and then Leon's going to finish everything because I'm slow. Leon's welding these brackets for his rear seats because Leon is in fact a good welder, not like me. To fabricate a new piece of sheet metal to fix the support beam, I'm starting off by taking the measurements. I then cut out a new piece of sheet metal with those measurements and bend it in the correct shape using the workmate until the shape properly fits the support beam. Look what Leon made. That's beautiful. I then let Leon cut the rusty metal out of the support beam because I just know that the fitment will be better when he does it. And now it's time to finally start welding. Well, that looks ugly, but I think it's pretty functional, so let's grind down those welds. That's it after the first round of welding. There's still a few spots that I gotta fill up, but we're almost there. That's all nice and done, so now I'm gonna go and clean all of these edges to get them to bare metal so we can start welding this floor pan. Well, you've guessed it, I'm removing the bitumen using the screwdriver and hammer combo again. But this time, after removing the upper layer, I'm going in with the power file to strip everything down to bare metal. And yes, I have tried to remove the entire layer of bitumen with the power file, but that made the sanding belts clog up in a matter of seconds. I then cleaned up the inside of the support beam and sprayed some Dinitrol RC900 in there to prevent it from rusting after welding in the new floor pan. I am done doing most of this prep work and Leon's done welding his, how do you call those, brackets, right?
Yes, sheet brackets.
Look at that. That looks so professional.
But it's not.
And now it's getting kind of late already because these things always take up so much more time than I expect. But I'm going to call it a day and then I'll get back to you tomorrow. Hello, it's now the next day and another day of welding on my BMW. First thing I want to do is try and make this piece of metal fit in because it's currently laying on this part, but I can't put it in any further because there's this little thingy in the way. So I'm going to cut out this corner and then hopefully I can go and try to fit this. And after that, I fitted the new floor pan in place. When I got it all nice and centered, I got to the underside of the car with a marker to mark the parts that still need to be cut to fit the new floor pan into the car. I then fitted the floor pan back into the car and tried using a hammer to bend the front end back a bit since it was a bit too steep, which I then followed up by using the power file again to remove the last few millimeters of metal to make the floor pan fit properly. And since I still wasn't happy with the fitment of the front side, I let Leon take a look at it since he has a lot more experience with this kind of work. After having Leon bend the floor pan for me, I started drilling in the holes where I'll be spot welding the floor pan onto the support beam. I started off with just 6 holes and then checked if they were lined up properly before drilling in the rest. We got most of this panel in place properly. So now let's go and weld it in. I decided to let Leon do the first few welds because there was a lot of tension on the floor pan, and of course I did want to weld it in straight. After the first part was done, I continued to weld myself, with Leon standing behind me to check if I was doing well. Now this is in place for the most part, but we ran into a little problem because, as you can see, this doesn't really fit. There's a whole lot of space here, and I'm going to try and use a hammer to make this fit properly. Otherwise we're going to cut this piece out and then weld in a new piece. Well, Leon's going to do that, I guess, because
Wait, what?
this looks a bit hard, but we gotta fix this. We then tried our best to work together to make the floor pan fit. So I got in the car and pressed it in place while Leon made some cuts and welded it into place. Not ideal, but it seemed to work. Well, we've successfully welded in this new panel, except for this corner right here, because we've decided to just cut out this corner and then weld in an entire new piece, because this piece of metal is too small for this, and we're going to cut out a bit more behind here too. So we're going to need a bigger piece of sheet metal, so it will be easier to just cut this out and then do that in one go. But we're not going to do that today because it is getting kind of late already. So that means we are done for today. Now, I didn't get everything done I wanted to get done this weekend, but I am really happy with how far we've got, and thank you, Leon, for helping me weld, because I couldn't have done this alone. But for now, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!